Yay Networks.
Hey, y'all.
What up, y'all?
Welcome to This Is Live with Heather.
And Cornelius.
And tonight is super exciting.
Yes.
You excited? I'm excited.
What's that, boy?
Well, tonight is Wildflower Night.
Wildflower Night.
In LA. And tomorrow
is the first service for Sabbath LA.
You guys, this is a big deal.
It's going to be dope.
Because my husband passed our church over in 2020.
No, 2021. January 1st, 2021. That's when the contract was signed.
And then my last conference was June of 2021. So then the Lord took us on this journey of a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And if you like structure and you're probably like, what's the title? What's going on? Pretty much we're just talking about beginning again. And when God takes you through a season of purging, of resting, of renewing our minds, rewiring our brains, and now we're starting again, right? And sometimes people don't want to start again. They're afraid to start again because they're thinking about, maybe what happened in the past that was good or bad. Maybe they're afraid. I mean, we're in a whole new state beginning again. We're in LA. We've moved out here. It's been 2 years. But during the sabbatical, God gave me the vision of Wildflower. And I'm so excited about it. And I'm just going to be doing Wildflower Nights. My goal is once a month to do them here in LA. Mm-hmm. And it's like my conference just compounded to one night, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to see what the Holy Spirit does and what he does, here in LA. I know we have a love for LA, a passion to help people.
Why Wildflower? What does that mean?
So Wildflower is amazing. So if you look at the definition of it, it essentially, wildflowers bloom because they can reproduce when they pollinate on their own without human intervention. And so I'm like, how powerful is that, right? When you think about that, I think about our purposes are without human intervention, what God has called us to do. We don't need a bunch of people's opinions and thoughts and degrees. Like, unless you are a doctor, obviously you need to get a degree. But even in that, right? It's like nobody can stop God's plan for your life. Nobody can stop the calling. So one of the scriptures that I referenced a lot for Wildflower is the scripture that's like, look at the wildflowers. It's in Luke. But it's like, they don't do anything and God provides and takes care of them. Like, and he's like, do you have so little faith? Like, why are you so worried about your life? Why are you worrying about your clothes, your marriage, your relationship, your purpose, all those things? Like, God's like, I'll take care of you. So the idea of Wildflower is God will provide for you. He'll take care of you. And he don't need a whole bunch of human intervention to do it. And I think sometimes we have this idea where we're like, well, if I was born on the right side of town, or if I had more help, and if I had more support, and if I had a trust fund, or if I had this, I could step out on faith. Nope. We're stepping out on faith. Yeah. And we're proving to people that God's hand is on our life and on what we do.
Yeah. I love that, especially that ending piece. Like, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 is one of my favorite chapters, primarily because there's a verse in there that says that God takes those who are lowborn and insignificant to put the proud to shame.
Preach.
And God is he's always in that business. I mean, how he takes things that will be foolish to our world and it just puts the wise to shame. Jesus goes fishing and takes his tax money out of the mouth of a fish.
Come on.
That when you're getting ready to sacrifice your son, he says, no, there's a ram over there in the bush. You sacrifice that instead. So I love how God, he takes those things which are lowborn, which are insignificant. You take somebody who's, you would say lowborn like David, not the one who was chosen to be put in line, but that's the one that God uses to not only defeat the giant, but to also become king.
Come on.
Wasn't a perfect man, but yet the Bible still says that he was a man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
Because throughout his imperfection, he still sought God, because I think David understood divinity and humanity too. And I just think about our own lives. I mean, both growing up on farms, both growing up, I know for me, I'd be considered lowborn and insignificant.
Oh,
I grew
100%.
up in Mississippi.
Yeah.
People ask questions, what good comes out of Mississippi? That's no offense to anybody who's in Mississippi, but people who are in Mississippi, you automatically know that is a thing. It's like what? Yeah. And then I grew up I didn't grow up in Jackson or Meridian or Vicksburg or Hattiesburg or
Both of us came from a tiny town.
I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up in Newton. I didn't grow up in the city. I was 7 miles out of the city. I was in the country, dirt road.
Yeah.
And to just think like, where I had an opportunity to come from. And
it's wild. It's like God sent us here.
And you have a college degree.
Yeah.
I dropped out of college.
Yeah.
I'm a college dropout. I preached all over the world. And not one time has anybody asked me before I got on the stage to preach.
Degree?
What is your degree in? One time have I ever been asked that. And so it's like, I thank God for that almost, because he takes those who are lowborn.
Come on, baby.
And insignificant. And he says, I can use you because at least you'll do this. You know what I mean? And so I love that. The whole,
because your hope's in him. It's not in a degree. It's not in a person. It's not in a connection. It's not in a spiritual dad. Like, it's literally in the Lord. Yeah. And that is it. And I believe that's what he wants. Yeah. I believe God's jealous for us. Yeah. And he wants us to put our hope in him. You know what I mean? And not in anybody else. Yeah. So I look over my life, and I mean, I was born small town. I was adopted, as many people know, at 6 months old. And I didn't have the easiest, first 6 months of my life. My family's amazing that adopted me, but I'm like first generation. You know what I mean? Like, I heard on my dad's side, I heard my stepdad is Jewish. Not my stepdad. My dad told me that his grandfather was Jewish, and he was a pastor, which is funny.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So maybe a few generations ago, so I guess I'm not first generation, but a few generations, I just didn't know, you know, and I've been preaching for, 10, 13 years. But I feel like I was in the same boat. Like, God called me in my little tiny apartment in Washington, D.C., and told me I was called to preach the gospel of Jesus. Mm. And I feel like we've gone through like a 2-year process of like pruning, refining, changing the way that we think, developing an empathy and love and helping people and hearing God's voice in a more distinct way and being less performance and workspace, but more like, God, you love me, and I'm gonna be your hands and feet here on this earth.
Well, this is the way I look at it. I've come to the conclusion that every great leader needs a cave experience.
100%.
And that's why I love the story of David, because David had the triumphant moment after he defeated Goliath.
Yeah.
Where, the people are chanting him, people loved him. That's the first mountaintop.
Yeah.
But every great leader needs that broken place where, now thankfully, because of David's brokenness, we get a lot of Psalms.
Yeah. And
we're able to read these words that people don't even realize David wrote. As a deer panteth for water, so does my soul thirst after thee. These are words that were crafted inside of a cave.
Yeah.
And you can't even take away the fact that God used an evil person like Saul to push him into the cave. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, and there's even a part for your enemies to play that helps to push you into the place where God needs you for a moment, even though it is dark, even though you feel broken, even though you feel helpless. I believe it was the cave that ultimately prepared David for the throne.
Yeah.
But you have to go through that. I mean, even if you look at Joseph's life, like how he was thrown into the pit, and then he was taken out of that. He was sold into slavery, and then he was thrown into prison, and ultimately he ends up second in command right under Pharaoh. So you have these things in it's not maybe C.S. Lewis, I can't remember, but the famous quote is before God can use a man greatly.
Oh, Leonard Ravenhill.
It's not Leonard Ravenhill.
Oh, it's not?
It's not. I think it may be C.S. Lewis.
Okay.
But before God can use a man greatly, he must first break him deeply. And that's where I believe God found out this is a man after mine own heart when David was in that cave. Because triumphant just killed Goliath David. That David could not be king.
Yeah.
Because he ain't learned nothing.
Preach.
And you learn stuff through brokenness. That's you learn it. And so those people out there listening who were like, man, well, I started once and I'm not sure about doing that again. Because I never forget when I quit pastoring, I remember I told everybody, I said, I am done with y'all And I said every word that went after that. And it was like, I remember forgetting one of my guys, he's actually on my board, and he said, "This what, well, you know what?" He said something. I'm going to actually tell you what he said. I'm going to tell you it right after this. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp.
Yes. So sometimes my thoughts are all over the place.
All over the place. I know, right?
Literally, I have like 100 million tabs open in my brain. No judgment. But that's why I go see my therapist.
Right.
I know that I need to talk out some areas in my life so I can close some of these tabs in my brain. So if anybody has racing thoughts, I mean, we're going into the holiday season and it can be kind of stressful for people.
Yeah.
They can feel like, I'm not where I want to be, or maybe I don't have enough money, and maybe you just need somebody to talk it out with you. And I love BetterHelp because it's online therapy where you can connect with somebody wherever you're at, all over the world. There's financial aid if you need it. There's literally no excuses to not work through that childhood trauma that's affecting who you are today.
Right. And if you're out there right now, if you've ever been thinking about giving therapy a try, like this is the time for you to contact BetterHelp. The cool thing is there's a brief questionnaire. You fill that out. They'll match you up with someone. And the cool thing I love is if you don't like that person, you can ditch that person. They'll assign you to somebody else, which is so dope. But get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Lindsay's today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. HELP.com/Lindsay's, LINDSEYS. So we're back. So one of my guys, he said, "No, you're not." And I remember I texted him back, like I texted him back, like the little red face, like the curse words and I think like I texted back a whole bunch of those. And he was like, you can do it. He's like, you can say whatever you want to say right now. He was like, I just want to let you know,
you'll be back.
This is rest. He said, this is only rest, but
rest
you're not
is
done.
Good.
But back then
we was done.
Back then I was done. I was like, oh, so I done gave my life and gave this and gave this and gave all this up, and then you still throw my name, like you still act like that, you still do like and here's the thing, the whole time I've read all these stories about Jesus and how they treated him, and I'm just like, oh, but that couldn't be me,
Isn't that crazy? He's like, persecution makes you more like me.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, now I get
to share in your suffering.
I get to share in this.
And then when it happens, you're like, woo, screw all this.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, screw all this. I don't need them. And that was my mind frame back then. Like, I don't think they realized I don't need none of them. Like, I don't need you.
Like, we got business.
Like, I don't need any of this.
I ain't never take no check. I was like, we do this because we are led, not for no money.
I was just like, I don't need any of this. I don't need y'all. I don't need any other pastors. Like, I don't need any of this. And so that was my mind frame. And then after even getting free from all that, like now we're at this point where even with Sabbath LA, it's like I can just go in with such peace.
I love
People keep asking me like, so how do you feel? And I'm just like indifferent. I'm
just showing up. I don't
know.
Just showing up to help people.
How many people are going to show up? I don't know. I don't really care. Man, you just seem like you just really don't care. I don't.
It's weird. It's like it's tonight. Well, tonight's Wildflower Nights, and then tomorrow's our church. But I feel like we're going into this time just surrendered. And this is probably what it feels like to be surrendered. Like, we're not freaked out by 1,000 meetings. We're not trying to like organize and do all this. We're just like, let's just provide a place, a space to worship Jesus for the next couple days. And it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be good. We did get a band.
We got some singers, and even with them, I had to tell them, I'm like, listen, I know you've probably been a part of churches before where you probably had a ton of meetings, and you need to do this, and I do it. I said, we're gonna talk about culture and what we're gonna have. Invite you over to our house, get to know you guys. But one thing that I'm not about to do is I'm not about to stress out over this. And here's the other thing: I don't want this to be so performance based that you feel like you need to perform for them. Like, if we just showed up and it's like, okay, what does God put on your heart? Like, we just worship God. Like, okay, if y'all are I'm a teacher. If you put me on a stage right now and gave me a word and said fire truck, I'm gonna preach you a whole sermon right now
and preach his face off
on fire truck. You gonna leave up out of that thing like, dang, I ain't never seen no fire truck like that before, because that's what I'm anointed to do.
Yeah.
So even when I told the singers in the band, I said, listen, if this is what you're gifted at, then whether or not we practice or not, whether or not you guys get together and you guys come up with anything, even if you were spontaneous, it should all sound unified. Yeah. Because this is the functionality of your gift. This is what you have.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I ain't stressing out over this, man.
We're not stressed at all, guys. Like it's legit tonight. And we're just like, I can't wait to see what God does, because we have removed ourselves from any performance. We've removed ourselves out of any personality. We don't care about that stuff anymore. Like, I want you to come comfortable tonight. Like, if you want to wear some leggings and a hoodie, then you come comfortable, right?
And then tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's
please.
Real.
Like, I put out the thing. I'm like, if I don't see a Gucci belt, I'm okay. We don't need none of that.
Yeah.
I promise you, bro. Yeah.
I might wear a bag though, because I like my purse.
But I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to feel like you got to come to impress. It's
you don't have to impress.
We really don't care.
We don't care about any of that stuff.
Bring that cousin that don't like church.
Yep.
Bring that cousin that still iffy about God. Like, those are the people that I want to reach. You know what I mean? Like, those are the people. Like, I want the people to come sit at our table who are like the black sheep, who are kind of the misunderstood, who the parents done kicked them out and got rid of because they not living the same type of way the parents think they should. They got kicked out of the church down the street. Like, I know these words are so dangerous that I'm saying at those kind of people, but I have such a heart for those people, and I want Sabbath to be that place where people can come and rest.
Yeah.
Take away all that performance and all the acting, and just be like,
yeah, that's real.
I want you to rest. I want you to rest. Just like lay it down, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I
gotta give him the address. I gotta give him the address.
Let's give him
the address. It starts at 6:30, right?
Yep.
Starts at 6:30 p.m. Also, Sabbath LA Saturday night tomorrow night starts at 6:30. The address is 10654 Balboa Boulevard. 10654 Balboa Boulevard, Granada Hills, California, 91344. So 10654 Balboa Boulevard, Granada Hills, California, 91344.
And what's the name of the building? Like Hope?
It's Hope. It's not Hope House. I just had it. Hope.
You did. You
Hope,
said it's
Hope or something. I don't know. But so
you have the address.
We're basically renting out another church.
Yeah.
And so we're there. They'll be there on Sundays. We're there on Saturdays. So you're gonna still see Hope, whatever it is, all over. Just know you're in the right place. Just walk in. Yeah. Like, we ain't gonna have no ushers or nothing, because I ain't trying to get nothing together right now. So I mean, it's just like going to the movies. Like, find a seat. You're an adult.
Come on in.
But we will have childcare available. Praise the Lord.
Childcare.
We got people who are like already like, I want to help with the kids. I'm like, all right, I got to do a background check, but let's do this thing. Like, let's rock out, But we got people who are going to help with your babies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can come in, and y'all don't be expecting to stay long. I know, like, some places be like, y'all be in there 3-4 hours. Look, in my opinion, if church is over an hour and a half, I'm tired. So y'all can be there by yourself, but I ain't going to be there. I'm going to be going home.
I'm just excited to see how God moves tonight and tomorrow. Like, I'm just excited, and I know how it feels to start a new church, and the expectation I have, whether 5 people come or 5,000 people come, right? Well, 5,000 can't because of our space.
Yeah, 5,000 can come.
Yeah, or so 500.
If 5,000 come, there will be the fire marshal to come through.
Right. Or 500. Those things just don't even matter. They're not relevant. And I think sometimes when people step out on faith, they begin to measure it and compare. And for me, like, I don't care about that stuff. And I feel like sometimes you have to get to this point where you're like, I'm doing this for God.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for my ego. I'm not doing this for my pride.
Right.
I'm not even doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I'm led by God to do it. And this is a God idea. And I'm stepping out on faith to do that. And sometimes it can be scary to step out on faith again. But I just feel like you just wonder, like, what's on the other side of my obedience?
Yep.
Like, how many people can I help? Like, how many people is God going to use, at our events, right? Like, because we just opened up a meeting space and said, God, you're welcome here to do whatever you want to do. How many people are going to get saved? Like, you wonder that though, right? Like, some services you have, you don't even realize, like, when people raise their hand or they come down and they get saved, like, that date was marked in their mind forever. You know what I mean? And that's beautiful. And I just feel like we see our side And then God comes in and just blows our mind with a whole nother plan. So you can't care. You have to literally lay down ego, pride.
Lay it all down.
Lay down comparison. Who cares? Because when I stand before Jesus one day and he's like, my good and faithful, did you do what I tell you to do? Yep, I did. You remember that day on September 23rd? I began again. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And whether people showed up or whether they don't, or whether people get delivered or whether they don't, I showed up and I made a place for you.
Yeah, obedience isn't for the other person. Obedience is for you.
Obedience is for you.
The other person benefits from your obedience. And the same is also true for the opposite. Somebody does not benefit because of your disobedience.
That's real.
And
So
I never wanted to be God, like, who suffered because of my disobedience.
That's real.
Because I wanted to, because for me to just sit back and say, I don't need to do this. Like I need, and I get it. It's my pride and my ego to be like, I legit don't need y'all. I don't know. I'm not even an extroverted person. Like
everybody
when you
knows.
think of pastor in the book, everything that's in there, that ain't even me. Yeah. So it's like, some things are.
Like
Some things are like the family piece, and like I love sitting with people. I love helping people, stuff like that. But like me, it's almost like I wanted to prove like I don't need y'all because I don't. And then, but what if I would have kept that, even when God was speaking to me? Because we was driving through L.A. or we was driving through Woodland Hills, Santa Monica, driving up Topanga. Mm-hmm. When we flew out here, and when God, he spoke to me. We were driving up Topanga, and he said, I want you to plant a church on the hill. And I looked over at you, sitting in the passenger seat, and you said, did you hear that? And I said, what? And you said, God just said he wanted us to plant a church on the hill. And in that moment, I was like, God, dog. Because if you never said it, I was never going to bring it up to you.
I think you would have eventually.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't bring, because I wouldn't want to be held accountable for it.
Oh,
because
that's a big word. I wanted
to keep that to myself. But start again. Do what you got to do. Come out, ladies. Wildflower, men, we ain't invited. Wildflower nights. This will be this Friday. Tomorrow night is church. Is Sabbath LA. 6:30 p.m. Already gave you the address. Show up. Bring some friends. We're gonna have us a good time. And if you need more information, you can go to sabbathla.com. Also, if you want to watch via live stream, we'll have live stream, and it is sabbathla.com. Again, it's sabbathla.com.
Is that even for Wildflower?
Wildflower, they can watch. Do you have another place? You have the site?
I have a website they can go to.
Do you want to, or do you want to just put it? You just want to put it there on So for both,
register at wildflowerorg.com.
So you can go to Wildflower, WILD flower org.com.
Yeah.
So wildflowerorg.com and go to sabbathla.com. Whichever one, we'll make sure you see it. God bless y'all. Introducers, we out this piece. Tell your mom and them I said hey.
There you go.
Bye.